China, Japan, Mexico. What I say is what I say. When do we beat Mexico at the border? They are not our friend. They're laughing at us.
I don't think they like me very much. I don't think they like me very much. We need to build a wall.
And I will have Mexico pay for that wall. I am Donald Trump. What I say is what I say.
Welcome to the Johnny Ray Show. Thank you for joining me tonight. We discuss the vast amounts, the copious amounts of voter irregularities in the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. We see a man compare Trump supporters to Hitler. Joe Biden's advisor wants to vaccinate the world, then Americans. Ezekiel Emanuel is named COVID czar by Joe Biden. We'll discuss Ezekiel's philosophies on life and death. And Cavuto cuts off Kayleigh McEnany for no other reason than he's a horse's ass. All that and more on this episode of the Johnny Ray Show. Thank you and welcome back to the Johnny Ray Show. This is going to be a fairly bouncing around episode, so please bear with me and make sure that you hit the like, share, subscribe. Make sure when you subscribe on YouTube that you click the little bell, because if you don't click the little bell, then you'll never see any of my videos pop up because YouTube hates me. So make sure that you do that. Make sure that you share this far and wide so that Facebook and Twitter and YouTube can all blow me. Now, we're going to go over a few things for as far as voter irregularities, what the left and some spineless conservatives have conflated with voter fraud. Now, yes, Donald Trump has used the term voter fraud, and I do frown upon that because it's not necessarily widespread voter fraud so much as it's voter irregularities that tend to change elections. We will start with Michigan. Michigan has had quite a bit of voter irregularities and or voter fraud. They start with the 4 a.m. mass dumps of thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of 100% Joe Biden votes. No Joe Jorgensen vote, no Donald Trump vote, no Kanye West vote, just Joe Biden at 2, 3, 4 in the morning after they claimed that they were going to stop counting and resume in the morning. And if that wasn't enough, that 138,000 ballots just miraculously popped up at 3 in the morning. They also came out, the Secretary of State, I believe it was, came out and announced that there was a software glitch that miraculously switched thousands of votes that were supposed to be for Donald Trump, switched them to Joe Biden. Now, they said that they did hand count the votes and corrected the error, but my problem is that that particular software, Dominion software, is also used in 47, I believe, other counties, possibly 30 other states. That's where it tends to be a problem, because just basic math would tell you that if they, I believe it was like 6,000 votes that were miraculously switched from Trump over to Biden, times 47 counties is quite a lot of votes. Now, is it enough to completely flip the election? Not necessarily, but it's enough in just those 47 counties to flip the state. Because if you take those votes away from Joe Biden and give them to the rightful person, Donald Trump no longer trails by, 30 or 40,000. He now leads by 80 or 90,000. That's the voter irregularity that we're talking about on the right when we say that this election is rife with issues. Now, if the glitch that could potentially have swapped that entire state wasn't enough, and the mass 100% dumps overnight for Joe Biden weren't enough, they also had some 10,000 ballots that were cast by dead people. People that are no longer alive. And I don't mean like they passed away after they cast a ballot. I don't think 10,000 people in Michigan did that. I'm talking about people that, when presented the evidence, you could see they died in 1984, for instance. There was one that died in 1913. 1913. They died. But they miraculously cast a ballot in Michigan for, go figure, Joe Biden. Now, what gets me, in especially stuff like this, is people could say, well, the glitch is a computer software issue. It's not, we fixed it. That's fine. But why do these glitches never benefit Donald Trump? They benefit Joe Biden. Certain glitches benefited Democrat, but they never benefit the Republican side. I don't believe in any time in history, at least that I can remember, and if I'm wrong, comment down below, give me your source, and I'll be happy to look into it. I don't recall any time in my lifetime that a glitch in a computer voting software has went in the favor of the Republicans. Not one that I can remember anyway. Now, we'll go on to Pennsylvania, which is probably one of the biggest, most important states in this election right now. Not only because of the amount of electoral votes that you get from that, but for the simple fact that it was the most unusual changes prior to the election. Never in the history of American voting and American elections have we had this amount of mail-in ballots in history, let alone coupled with the fact that in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that they would be okay with accepting ballots that came in the mail up to 3 whole days after the election deadline. That's a bit of an issue for me, because mail-in ballots already are rife for fraud, because a lot of liberals will argue that people have been mailing ballots since the beginning of time or whatever. They've been mailing absentee ballots. Totally different. And here's why. Absentee ballots, you have to request. You have to specifically go to, I guess, the website. I've never done it, but I assume you go to the website, or you request it through the mail or whatever. Go to the election board. You have to request it. You also have to show proof that you're a valid voter when you request it. Then you have to have it witnessed before it would be counted. normally. And we'll get to that a little bit later. That's a little bit of a catch. But never in the history of the American elections has this many unrequested mass mail-in votes been done. Now, one would argue that mail-in votes would be just like absentee votes, except with the mass mail-in, they just simply sent out ballots to everybody on the voter rolls. Okay? Here's where the problem comes in. Because if you move and you don't follow up with the election board to tell them that you moved, say you move out of state or you move districts, they are going to mail you your mail-in ballot to whatever address they have. Now, if you move out of state, now somebody in the previous state has your mail-in ballot at their house, whoever decided to rent or buy the house, and now they can simply check off who they want, stick it back in the envelope, seal it up, stick it in the second envelope, seal it up, put it in the mail, drop it in the ballot box, and nobody asks any questions. If I wanted to, I could go down the street, through the neighborhoods, snatch every mail-in ballot out of the mailbox, fill in whoever I wanted to vote for, and drop them all in the ballot box, in the drop box. And nothing would stop me. Now, I could potentially alter 50, 60, 100 votes, which doesn't seem like a lot. You're absolutely right. But if 10 of me were to do that, then that's 1,000. If 20 of me, that would be 2,000. In an election where in some states the margin between the leader and the second are thousands, not even hundreds of thousands in some cases. Arizona is like, I think 15,000, something like that. I mean, that's potentially a change. That's a pendulum swing. And I know what you're saying. Well, who's going to go around doing that? I'm not. But people who believe in the party that's been telling everybody that Hitler is president right now, that everything wrong with American society right now is Donald Trump's fault, that if he gets reelected, it's the end of the world as we know it. People that watch MSNBC and CNN and hear Orange Man bad 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, might. The people that have been out destroying cities, setting cars and buildings on fire, killing people, they might do it. We don't know. That's the point. So, in Pennsylvania, the big deal was the poll watchers. Now, for poll watchers, the entire point of poll watchers is that basically you have a conservative and a Republican and a Democrat, and they both watch as the poll workers remove the ballots out of the envelope. They show them both so they have the opportunity to agree that there's nothing irregular about the ballot, and then they proceed to put it in the stacked account. In Pennsylvania, specifically in Philadelphia, they were not allowing conservative or Republican poll watchers. So, it went to the Supreme Court for Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court issued a court order demanding that Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania as a whole, allow Republican poll watchers into the polling station, to the counting. In Philadelphia, they specifically rejected that and still continued to not allow Republican poll watchers in. There's even a video, and I tried to find it, and I couldn't find a good video. As soon as I do, I will make sure and get that out to everybody. There was a man who was, I assume, a Republican poll watcher. He was outside of a Philadelphia polling station. He had the court order, had a copy of the court order in his hand. The people running the polling station told him no, due to COVID, they couldn't allow him to go in. And when he said, I have a court order allowing me to go in, they told him, call the cops. This is the party that wants to get rid of the cops. So, kind of weird there that they hate the cops. I guess it's kind of the sum up of the liberal left. They hate the cops until they need the cops or want to use the cops, and then it's cops are great. So, let's see. In Georgia, we had poll workers, and this is going back to the witness for the ballots. There were poll watchers. I believe it said there were something around 8,000 to 10,000 ballots that were signed by poll workers. Now, a poll worker can't sign as a witness to a mail-in ballot vote. They can't. That is forgery. And yet 8,000 to 10,000 ballots were either missing signatures for witnesses altogether, or were signed by the poll workers themselves upon receiving the ballot. 8,000 to 10,000, that's quite a lot. And when you couple that with, in Georgia, they had a problem with the military ballots. There were supposed to be some 15,000 military ballots that they said were on the way, and then just never showed up. They never counted them. So either 15,000 military personnel didn't vote after they said they were going to, after they said, I'm sending it in. It just got lost somewhere between Europe and here, I guess. I don't know. Nobody knows what happened to them. Georgia did issue a statement today saying that they are going to hand recount every vote. So that there is that. At least they're attempting to try and have a little transparency, unlike some of the states. Now in Nevada, all of that was irregularities. That was the voter irregularities, aside from the 10,000 dead people voting in Michigan. Then we go to Nevada, where it was blatant fraud. Blatant fraud. They, too, also had a significant amount of dead people voting. Joe Biden really killed it with the dead crowd this year. He got 110% of the dead vote. But they also had close to 50,000. 50,000. Now that is, I believe, more, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's more than the gap total between him and Trump as of right now. 50,000 non-resident votes. People that have either moved out of the state of Nevada or are not eligible to vote by Nevada law. 50,000. And that includes people that are convicted of felonies that still have not been granted their voting rights back, or they lost their voting right due to their criminal record, etc., etc. 50,000. That is a lot. And then, of course, Arizona. There's not a whole lot in Arizona, except the Sharpie Gate incident, which my only issue with that is so backstory, residents of Arizona, some counties in Arizona, were told to use a Sharpie to fill out their ballot, which the machine can't read Sharpie because it bleeds through, thus invalidating their ballot. Now, of course, the Secretary of State for Arizona said that they hand counted the ballots if they weren't able to be read by the machine, so the votes got counted. My problem is I don't know that they were counted. I mean, when you have 4 other states that are clearly not giving a crap about stuff like this, what makes me think that Arizona is? So, that's just a little bit of the rundown of the different forms of the voter fraud / voter irregularity type stuff that we have going on in this current election. Now, we're going to go to a clip now from the lesser Cuomo, Chris Cuomo from CNN fame and glory, where he had a man on his show, and I don't even honestly know who this man is. I saw the clip, and it was ridiculous. He compares Trump and Trump supporters to Nazi Germany Hitler. Take a listen to this.
And then I've been telling people for a long time now, I'm beginning to see what happened in Germany back in the 1930s. I never thought that could happen in this country. How do you elect a person president, then all of a sudden give him the authority to be dictator? That's what we're teetering on here. That's what Hitler did in Germany. He was elected chancellor, and then because he successfully discredited the news media, took over the churches. I cannot see that happening here. It may happen, but if it did, that means that the American people are much more, less, I should say, intelligent than I think they are.
Now, again, I don't know who this gentleman is, but he is ignorant, to say the least. He spoke about silencing the press. Donald Trump is trying to silence the press. Donald Trump has yet to silence the press. I've never once seen Donald Trump not allow the press their freedom. I mean, for 4 years, MSNBC, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, HuffPo, all these media outlets have been lambasting him with every horrible name, story, motive that you can think of. I mean, they've called him racist, xenophobic, neo-Nazi, a white supremacist, Hitler, actual Hitler, Stalin. I mean, they've called him everything you can think of. Not once have I seen him stop them from doing that. Now, he shuts them down in the press briefings, but that's because he runs the press briefing. If he doesn't want to talk to you, he's not going to talk to you. He doesn't have to answer your questions. That is a misconception by the media. The president doesn't have to answer anything. He doesn't have to tell you anything. He doesn't. If you want to know, great. You better figure it out if he doesn't want to tell you. Because that's just how it is. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the president has to give interviews. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the president has to answer Fredo Cuomo's questions. Nowhere. Then he talks about shutting down church. The only people I've seen to shut down church is the left. They all across the country, they've shut churches down. They've said church is killing grandma. Going to church, you're killing grandma because of COVID for the last 8-9 months now. So if if anybody is shutting down the church, it would be the left. And how ironic is it that Hitler was the National Socialist Workers' Party, and the left are basically socialist. Some of them are outright self-proclaimed socialist. So, spare me with the, if you're a Trump supporter, you're Nazi Germany circa 1941. Okay? There's far more evidence that the left is Nazi Germany circa 1941 more than the right. Okay. So, on to the next moron in the news. This is Sandra Smith of Fox. And I'm just going to go on a tangent for just 5 seconds here about Fox. At how much they have literally fallen from being a fairly informative to moderately informative news channel to the new left sycophant channel. And I don't know what's changed. I don't know. I hear things from all sides. One source says that there's Democrats that own the Fox network, and that's why. I don't know why they would have jumped now as opposed to when every other media outlet decided they were going to skew far left. But since the election, it's when they called Arizona preemptively before any other news outlet, including the liberal far left ones, did. That's when it's like they changed. They switched and they started veering further and further left. So that's my tangent on them. But I would think that following Twitter and Facebook feeds, the amount of people that I've seen personally that are canceling Fox, gutting Fox on social media, that you would think that they would want to salvage just a little bit of respect. But it seems like they don't. And it seems like they just kind of accepted the fact that they are going to lose or have lost a huge staple of ratings. Here's Sandra Smith, a Fox News anchor who was doing an interview with some guests. One lady was talking, and I guess Sandra Smith did not agree with what she was saying. She thought the camera and the mic were turned off. She thought that the only mic she had on was to the producer, but she was wrong because she's an idiot, like most journalists are these days. Take a listen to this.
Whoever is decided to be the president, remember, just because CNN says, or even Fox News says that somebody's president, doesn't make them president. So I think everybody wants to know that this was done properly and legally.
What is happening? Like, Trace, we've called it.
And I think we have to look into every one of these concerns.
Yeah, and I think. Yeah, and I think.
I mean, she is so stupid that she literally thinks that because Fox News called the election, that any news outlet called the election, that everybody's just going to accept it, even though it's not over. It's far from over at this point. For right now, no state has even confirmed the electorate votes. The electorate college still hasn't even confirmed their vote. I don't know, and I talked about this on the last episode a little bit. People need to go back, and this is why the liberal overtaking of the educational system ruined American education. Okay? When I was in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, I had to take civics classes. They went over the branches of government, the powers that those branches had. It went over voting. It went over the electoral college. It went over everything government related. They don't do that anymore. quite apparently, because nobody seems to realize that just because for the past 100 years, or at least our lifetime, just because we knew the winner of the election on the night or the next morning after election, doesn't mean that things weren't going on in the background that we didn't know about. For instance, most people don't realize that the Electoral College doesn't even confirm their votes until now, right now, starting next week. That's the earliest that one of the state's electoral colleges confirms its vote. I believe it's like the 17th or the 19th, something like that. But if they don't even confirm until the 17th or the 19th, then what does Fox calling it, or CNN calling it, or MSNBC calling it, or even AP Desk, or Real Clear Politics, or any of these places? It means nothing. Absolutely jack crap. That's what it means. It doesn't matter if every news station, every newspaper, every media site, every blogger, every YouTuber, it doesn't matter if I call it, you call it, if Joe Biden himself calls it. One of two things has to happen before the election is officially over. And that is either the Electoral College confirms their vote, each state confirms their vote of which candidate they are putting their electoral votes behind, or all, I say one because usually it's down to two people, but all other candidates except for one have to concede, have to say, okay, I'm bowing out, I am no longer running, I'm done. One of those two things has to happen. It doesn't matter how many times CNN, Jake Tapper, Anderson Cooper, it doesn't matter how many times Greg Gutfield or Brett Baer or Martha McCollum or any of the people at MSNBC, and I don't know who any of them are because MSNBC pretty much sucks. It doesn't matter how many times they say it. It doesn't make it true. It doesn't. Now, for her to believe that if Fox or any other news outlet calls the election, that it makes it so, makes her either extremely stupid or completely uneducated. I am going to choose to assume the completely stupid, because I don't believe you could become a news anchor at a predominant media outlet such as Fox being uneducated. I don't think you can. I think you are just stupid, not uneducated. But maybe I'm wrong. Now, speaking of Jake Tapper, he is a complete dunce cap. Let's see here. He tweeted a few days ago, and I'm going to read you the tweet. He said, "I truly sympathize with those dealing with losing. It's not easy, but at a certain point, one has to think not only about what's best for the nation, in parentheses, peaceful transition of power, but how any future employers might see your character defined during adversity." So he's basically saying that he's a piece of shit, pardon my language, and that if, straighten my shirt here, it's all, oof, wrinkly, that he's basically a piece of crap, and that because he's a piece of crap, other employers of people are pieces of crap, that basically if you don't agree with their political way of thinking, that they're just gonna terminate you or not hire you for that, if you're trying to get a job. That is complete bullcrap. Completely. And any employer who does that is complete bullcrap as well. Because your political leanings, your political ideologies, your political philosophies do not dictate whether or not you are a good or a bad employee. I've ran businesses, I've owned businesses, I'm now running a business, and I've had employees underneath me that had my exact political ideologies, and they were horrible employees. They were late, they didn't do their job, they slacked, and it had nothing to do with their political ideologies. It had to do with their character as a person. And the left tend to conflate the two, that believe that just because you are a supporter of the right ideology, that it somehow makes your character invalid. That's the furthest from the truth. I know political leaning left people that have an amazing work ethic and are, for the most part, morally good character people. I know people on the right that are morally corrupt and horrible people. Your political ideologies do not dictate your moral compass, for the most part, or your ability or inability to do a job. So, for Jake Tapper, he gets the dunce of the week for making that stupid, ridiculous statement to try and threaten the livelihood of anybody who disagrees with him politically. So, on to the next part. This is I'm adding this in here not because it has a whole lot of addition to the conversation of the election, but it kind of does, and so it's great. Mike Pompeo did a press briefing, and he was asked about which is the question on every liberal's lips, is Donald Trump gonna transition? Why is he not transitioning? He should be transitioning. They have freaked out because Donald Trump refuses to initiate the transition of power when he hasn't lost the election officially. Now, the left has went bananas. They've decided that he is Hitler, he's Joseph Stalin, he's Mao, he's Satan, all rolled into one, orange man bad. And they, for some reason, believe that that Joe Biden has won, that even though he hasn't, that he has won, and that Donald Trump is stalling so that he can hold up in the Oval Office, and as Ben Shapiro has been saying, snorting blow off of the presidential desk and shooting bazooka guns through the doors to stay in the office. That is not what he's doing. That's not what he's going to do. If he does lose, if all the litigation comes through and it turns out that Joe Biden did in fact win the election, Donald Trump is not going to hold up in the Oval Office like Scarface. He's not. He's not that type of person. If he does, it'll be a complete shock to me. He doesn't seem like that type of person. Nothing in the 4 years since he's been in office, and nothing in the previous year before that when he was running, tells me that he is going to just hold up in the Oval Office and Scarface shoot it out like the end of Scarface. It just doesn't. But that doesn't stop the liberal left mass media from pushing the narrative that he is going to refuse to leave office and that he is going to hold up in the Oval Office and cops are going to have to forcibly remove him from the office. So when the reporter asked Mike Pompeo about this, Mike Pompeo did what he has been known to do on occasion, and he did a mic drop. He gave him a little mic drop. Here you go.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
I mean, that's great. And hey, come on. Okay. I know liberals have taken that clip and they've blown it so far out the water. They say, oh, he was being serious and Trump is never going to leave office. Even Mike Pompeo said that he's basically just going to hold up in there and he's never going to leave. He's going to be a dictator. He was joking. He was making a funny, as Master Splinter would say in the old Turtles movie. I know, dating myself, because most of the people watching this probably don't know what that is. But he was making a funny. Okay, I will play the entire little section. He goes on after that, after he laughs, shows that he was joking, it was in jest, and he says, there will be a peaceful transition of power to whoever is going to be the president come January 20th. Here, take a listen. This is the finishing touch.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Right? We're ready. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, a minute afternoon, will also be successful. I'm getting calls.
All right, so there you have it. He specifically said after the joke that whoever is elected, by the Electoral College through the legal channels will have a peaceful transition of power. He's not saying Trump's going to hold up in the Oval Office and snort blow off of the desk and then say hello to my little friend. You know, I mean, he would say it really weird if he did say it. Frankly, say hello to the Trump friend. I don't know. He's not going to, so it doesn't really matter. Now, on to another pretty hilarious moment. The media has had some pretty comical moments over the last few days. So, this was an MSNBC, interview with Ken Denalian. Anyway, and he apparently had some issues he was not happy about. Take a listen.
Ken Delanian has some new reporting on something that we talked about at the top of the hour, how the Trump administration is handling the transition with the incoming Biden team, or not handling it, we should say, to a certain extent. This time, it involves our intelligence community. Ken, what have you learned, sir? Oh, shit. Fuck. Okay.
I don't care who you are. If that doesn't make you laugh, you are not American. You need to be shipped out on the next departing flight to some far away island to live in seclusion, because that is one of the funniest things I've seen in the media in years. Now, here's the thing. Right here at the Johnny Ray Show, I have an insight as to what he was looking at that he had that kind of reaction. He was actually looking, and that was the reaction. They didn't show what he was looking at. I have somebody inside MSNBC that sent me the raw footage of what was going on for that reaction. Take a watch.
Kim Delaney has some new reporting on something that we talked about at the top of the hour, how the Trump administration is handling the transition with the incoming Biden team, or not handling it, we should say, to a certain extent. This time, it involves our intelligence community. Ken, what have you learned, sir? Oh, shit. Fuck.
Busted. Okay. Alright, enough with the fun and games. Enough. Enough is enough, as my friend Stoney would say. Jamie, bring that up. Anyway. Alright. So, on to the next area of discussion. The new COVID SAR that Biden has selected to be in his administration, his preemptive administration, that may not even end up being an administration. Who knows? I know, but hey, what do I know? He has selected Ezekiel Emanuel. He is the brother, I believe, to Rahm Emanuel. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's pretty out there. And the reason I say that is because he wrote an article in The Atlantic, you know, that news outlet that wrote the anonymous source fueled fake story about Donald Trump and the soldiers and the military men. He wrote an article for them on why he wants to die at the age of 75 and why he believes that nobody should live past the age of 75. It's quite the read. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to just give you a little bit of the highlights, if you will. So, give me just a second here. I'm going to pull this up. Why I hope I die at 75. An argument that society and families and you will be better off if nature takes its course swiftly and promptly. Story by Ezekiel Emanuel. 75. That's how long I want to live, 75 years. This preference drives my daughters crazy. It drives my brothers crazy. My loving friends think I am crazy. They think that I can't mean what I say, that I haven't thought clearly about this, because there is so much in the world to see and do. To convince me of my errors, they enumerate the myriad people I know who are over 75 and doing quite well. They are certain that as I get closer to 75, I will push the desired age back to 80, then 85, maybe even 90. I am sure of my position. Doubtless, death is a loss. It deprives us of experiences and milestones, of time spent with our spouse and children. In short, it deprives us of all the things we value. But here is a simple truth that many of us seem to resist. Living too long is also a loss. It renders many of us, if not disabled, then faltering and declining, a state that may not be worse than death, but is nonetheless deprived. It robs us of our creativity and ability to contribute to work, society, the world. It transforms how people experience us, relate to us, and most important, remember us. We are no longer remembered as vibrant and engaged, but as feeble, ineffectual, even pathetic. Now, does that sound like a guy that you want to head up the COVID task force? I mean, if left to his own inhibitions, he would just let everybody over the age of 75 get COVID and die. Because he doesn't think anybody should live past 75. I mean, the average lifespan of an American is like 80, 85. He wants to cut it short. Cut it like 70, 75. Now, remember, the person that hired this man is only like, he's like 73. He wants to kill him off before his first term's even done. Crazy. People like him are certifiable. And these are the people that the left want to... They want them in cabinet positions. They want them in enforcing rules and regulations on Americans. If that doesn't scream maniacal and lunatic, I don't know what does. I mean, I'm all out of ideas on that one. He also did a question and answer section where somebody asked, why living past 75 is so bad, and he basically says if you live past 75, you're past your life expectancy and that you have nothing to do. You're just living to live and not working for your place in society. This guy is I feel like Larry King, sorry. He's crazy. But this is who the left puts into powerful positions. People like this who are certifiably psychotic. Now, on to another certifiable psychotic person. More just an idiot. Kamala Harris's husband, his name is, what's his name? Hold on here. His name is, Greg, or Doug, something like that. I forgot his name now, but whatever. Kamala Harris's husband has officially quit the law firm that he works for to take a cabinet position in Joe Biden's administration. Now, if that's not preemptive, I don't know what you would call that, because that is, I mean, legitimately, before the race is even officially over, before the election's officially over, just because Fox and MSNBC and New York Times and Washington Post and HuffPo and everybody else called the race, doesn't make it so. And you're already quitting your job that pays you money now to take a job that may not even be there come January 20th. And for that reason alone, okay, forget the fact that I do wish Donald Trump re-election. I've been very vocal about it. I'm not shy about my biasy. For this reason alone, I sure hope that Donald Trump gets reelected, because I want to see how that man quitting his job that pays him money is going to work out when January 20th or sooner, whenever it's announced, that he has to go back and say, hey, guys, I was joking, playing. Man, I was just playing. Can I get my job back? Pretty please? Like, how does that play out? How do you do that? If I quit my job today, preemptively, in the anticipation that I was going to get another job in a month and a half, I don't think my job would take me back if I didn't get that other job. I don't think they would. I don't think a whole lot of jobs would. So, for his sake, he better hope that Joe Biden does, in fact, retain the election. Because otherwise, he is going to have serious problems. Now, on to Cavuto of Fox, another Fox guy. Again, you would think that with the losing ratings that they may have in, coming down the pike, you would think that Fox would want to not do stupid things. But unfortunately, they still do. So, Cavuto had tossed it over to Kayleigh McEnany, who was doing a press briefing, and she was talking about the election and what was going on, and he completely cuts her off, claiming that he couldn't in good faith allow his viewers to watch what she had to say until she had evidence of voter fraud or irregularities. So he cut her off without listening to if she was saying anything to give evidence. He just automatically claimed she didn't have evidence. And this is the thing with the media right now. They are pushing the narrative that there is completely zero evidence. They've actually said zero evidence, baseless claims of voter fraud. But then they turn around and acknowledge that there are instances of voter irregularities or voter fraud, such as in Georgia. How confused do you think those people are that watch CNN and MSNBC and Fox, and for 10 days have been hearing there's no claim for voter fraud. It's zero evidence. Zero. It's baseless claims by Donald Trump trying to steal the election away from Joe Biden. And then all of a sudden, Georgia, the election board of Georgia and the Secretary of State of Georgia come out and say, hey, because there have been things brought to our attention, we're going to go ahead and hand count all the ballots again just to make sure. Those people are going to be like, but I thought there wasn't voter fraud. There wasn't any irregularities. You've been telling me for 7 days that there is no irregularities. They're baseless claims of Trump trying to steal the election from Joe Biden. Now the state even said, yeah, there's a little bit of irregularities that we're not liking, so we're gonna hand count to make sure that we didn't screw up anywhere. Those people are mind blown because they don't know who to believe now. And this is why the narrative, as opposed to objective journalism, is wrong. This is why when you claim you're objective, but you only push your narrative, you are wrong. You're not a journalist. You're an opinion writer or an opinion anchor, and you suck at life. This is why. Take a listen.
Spelling out the Republican National Committee's plan to fight what's been going on in some states, notably Pennsylvania, with the vote count. Let's listen in.
One party in America that opposes verifying signatures, citizenship, residency, eligibility. There is only one party in America trying to keep observers out of the count room. And that party, my friends, is the Democrat Party. You don't take these positions because you want an honest election. You don't oppose an audit of the vote because you want an accurate count. You don't oppose our efforts at sunlight and transparency because you have nothing to hide. You take these positions because you are welcoming fraud and you are welcoming illegal voting. Our position is clear. We want to protect the franchise of the American people. We want an honest, accurate, lawful count. We want maximum sunlight. We want maximum transparency. We want every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be...
Well, I just think we have to be very clear. She's charging, the other side is welcoming fraud and welcoming illegal voting. Unless she has more details to back that up, I can't in good countenance continue showing you this. I want to make sure that maybe they do have something to back that up, but that's an explosive charge to make, that the other side is effectively rigging and cheating. If she does bring proof of that, of course, we'll take you back. So far, she...
Cavuto, you are a moron. Okay? And I can say that in good conscience because you are. And here's the proof of why you are. I don't think you're watching. But if you are, whoever's watching, send it to him so he can see. Because this is why he is the biggest horse's ass on television. Because I have the full clip of Kayleigh at that press conference and what she had to say. 53 seconds. 53 seconds after he cuts her off and says he can't in good conscience continue to let his viewers hear her spew her charged, as he said, charged rhetoric without any kind of proof, without any kind of evidence. He can't in good conscience allow anybody to hear what the press secretary for the president, the current sitting duly elected president, even if he does lose the election, he's still president until January 20th at 12:00. I can't allow you to listen to this in good conscience until she gives me evidence. I'm going to play the clip from the time he cuts it off. It is exactly 53 seconds. I want you to count it. 53 seconds after he cuts her off, she begins to give the instances as evidence. Take a listen.
Legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be discarded. Unlike our opponents, we have nothing to hide. The integrity of our election. Every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be discarded. Unlike our opponents, we have nothing to hide. The integrity of our election matters. The Constitution of the United States matters. What we have seen across the country is Democrat officials systematically trying to do an end run around the Constitution to tip the scales of the election in their favor. As Justice Gorsuch wrote in DNC versus Wisconsin State Legislature, our oath to uphold the Constitution is tested by hard times, not easy ones. Last-minute changes to long-standing election rules risk other problems too, inviting confusion and chaos and eroding public confidence in electoral outcomes. Pennsylvania is a case study in just this. Allow me to just broadly review 3 points that have happened in Pennsylvania. Number one, in Philadelphia, poll watchers who are legally permitted to be there and observe the vote count were blocked from observing the count. Our poll watchers were put behind barricades in a massive room. They were many feet from the counting process, and in fact, when you look at all of the tables, many hundreds of feet, in fact, from the tables in the very back. They were completely in the dark, completely unable to oversee the vote count, as was their legal right. An observer on the scene described it this way. Imagine being on a football field. You're on the 10-yard line and expected to make a call in the end zone on the other side of the field. It is unacceptable. An intermediary court ruled on the side of the campaign, on the side of transparency and allowing the poll watchers to observe the count. But what did the Democrat Pennsylvania Supreme Court do? They issued an administrative stay, effectively pushing back our poll watchers and denying them the access they deserve to sit and watch the count. Ask yourself this: what are Pennsylvania Democrats hiding? Why can't poll watchers simply observe the count?
Wow! You mean to tell me that 53 seconds after Cavuto popped his ugly mug back on the screen and said, "I can't in good conscience let you continue listening to this until she brings some sort of evidence." 53 seconds later, she gives you evidence! You ignorant horse's ass. That's why you are a horse's ass. And I promise you, there's plenty more that she could have talked about, and she might have. I'm just not going to be able to show it because, honestly, as much as I just played right there without cutting in and out and talking over it, I may very well get dinged by YouTube and it'll be muted, so nobody will be able to hear it anyway. But the fact is that 53 seconds after he popped his dumbass face back on the screen, she did exactly what he said he can't in good conscience let people listen to until she has. She presented evidence. So, that's why Mr. Cavuto is a dunce cap. Okay? Now, got all the news media out of the way. I want to remind you that my weekly shows are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell on YouTube so that you can get the notifications of the new episodes as they air. And I am also in the process of setting up a members only area so that basically members can pay a monthly fee and get behind the paywall of all the things that I record and don't put out to everybody. So that's coming pretty soon. And I'm going to be having some contests. I'm also going to be having a lot more guests on in the near future, so stay tuned for that. I know the guest segments are a lot of people's favorite, and I don't do it nearly enough as I'd like, so I am going to be getting that back up and running here pretty soon. So bear with me. Make sure that you keep sharing, liking, subscribing, comment down below anything that you think I should talk about, and I will do my darndest to get it on to the next available episode. And make sure that you're sharing this on Facebook, because most of the time I'm banned on Facebook and can't share it anyway. So make sure you're sharing it on Facebook so that everybody can get involved. Make sure you're sharing it on Twitter. Join me on Parler. I got a Parler account because the mass exodus from Twitter and Facebook prompted me to. So you can follow me there. Follow me at Parler. It's at JohnnyRay918. You can also catch me on Twitter at JRay918. And when I am able to be on Facebook and I'm unbanned because Mark Zuckerberg sucks, that is the Johnny Ray Show on Facebook. So, until Friday, good night. Staying strong. Hold the line. The election is not over until the fat liberal lady sings, or in probably more likeliness, the fat liberal lady cries. Hold the line. Let's see where litigation goes. Good night, and God bless.